Good morning. Good morning. Good morning and Happy New Year. Thank you all for joining us in person today, and thank you for those of you who are online who are joining us. I am honored to be here with all of you today. I want to give special thanks to Reverend John for inviting me to spend time and space with all of you today. I want to thank Tina, there you are, Tina Adams, the worship associate, who has been very helpful, and thank you for companioning me today. I want to uplift David Brown and our music director, who has been such a support and very flexible with working to help create today's service filled with music that supports my ministry and hopefully nourishes your soul today. Lastly, I would like to thank the AV crew back there who have been wonderful in supporting, yes. And I'm really appreciative of all the tips and tricks they have shared with me so I don't pop the mic this week. And for those of you who do not know me, and for those of you who are getting to know me a little bit better, my name is Yvette McDonnell. I am the Congregational Life Coordinator here. I am also a spiritual companion ritualist, an interfaith chaplain, and a UU aspirant. I am a curandera. I am a root woman. I am a sage. I am a seer. And I am a wise woman. And in some places, I need no name at all. And my roots are of the African American Baptist tradition, and my branches spread wide and far to offer space for the many ways of knowing in this world. And today I would like to invite you on a journey with me today with my Baptist roots, as you can maybe tell by the music that we're playing today, in mind. And also, if I say something that stirs you, okay? If I say something that moves you to your soul and your spirit, please say amen. Please, yes, please say amen. Please say ashe. Please say something. Say slay queen, go girl, something. Give me something as I'm standing up here. I need those encouraging words as I share with you today, as I connect, and it's part of my tradition. Amen. And before I begin sharing with you today, I would like to highlight again today's music selection, which is deeply rooted in the gospel music and the African American experience. And music serves as a celebration and an invitation to connect to the soul of my ancestral roots. And throughout history, many have used music as a source of healing, a source to navigate difficult times. And it's a way to persevere and to move forward. It allows generations to send messages and to plant seeds, showing us a better way forward. And I owe much to those who came before me, for without their struggles, I would not be standing here with all of you today. Ashe, amen, and may it be so. So our spiritual theme this month here at MLUC, can you guess what it is? Yes, stories. And Reverend John shared in the most recent blog post, he said, as we enter a new year full of expectations and anxiety, I want to uphold the power of stories in our lives. Our story, either collectively or personally, can be a touchstone in times of uncertainty. Stories can sustain us. I always feel like having the opportunity to bear witness to other people's stories is a sacred act. Amen. They are blessings that help us understand and help us connect to one another. Through hearing people's stories, I personally am able to deepen my connection to others and gain insight into their perspectives. And it also allows me to see the common thread that connects all of us, and it helps me to see the humanity in each and every one of you. And today, I want to share 2 personal stories about planting seeds and getting into good trouble. So, what do I mean by planting seeds? Well, I'm a truth speaker, as you get to know me. I speak my truth into existence. I am a seed planter, and my life's work is to plant seeds and to get into good trouble. See, this is a job that I have that I cannot be hired for. It is not a job that I can be fired from, because this job was ordained long before I even arrived to this place called Earth. See, a long time ago, my ancestors let it be known. They planted those seeds, and I grew, and I am here today. I sit underneath the shade of the tree that somebody else planted, and I reap those benefits. I am the actualization of my ancestors' dreams and hopes and liberation. And by planting my own seeds, I continue that legacy of hope and liberations for future generations. My daughter's here, so I'm looking at her. So that right there is a whole moment, right? And I'm just gonna say that again because that's just part of my roots, because it feels so good. And as I look at my daughter, it's important for me to breathe those words again. I stand here today because I am the actualization of my ancestors' dreams. I am the hope. I am the liberation. And when I plant those seeds, it's for future generations, for not only my daughter, but your children, your grandchildren, and all the children in our community. So now that I have shared what it means to be a seed planter, let me tell you a little bit more about where I heard the saying, getting into good trouble. It was when my family and I watched John Lewis' Good Trouble. It's a 2020 documentary, for those of you who may not know. It's a wonderful documentary about the civil rights activist and late Congressman John Lewis. The late Congressman John Lewis said, "I got into good trouble, necessary trouble," and he often spoke about his experiences with racism in this country. I consider the late John Lewis a seed planter for sure. See, John Lewis was out there planting those seeds during the civil rights movement. And he was planting those seeds when he was marching over that bridge from Selma to Alabama to Montgomery. He was planting those seeds when he was up in jail, when he was getting brutalized by the police. He was planting those seeds on Bloody Sunday. He was planting those seeds when he was jailed and hospitalized. He was planting those seeds when he was up in Congress making change. The late Congressman Lewis said, "When you see something that's not right, that's not fair, that is not just, say something, do something, get into good trouble, necessary trouble." So, let me tell you, one of the things that I do best, and one of the things that I am known for, is getting into good trouble. It's like my superpower. And as I said earlier, this is not a job that I can be hired for, nor a job that I can be fired from. And one of my earliest moments of getting into good trouble was watching my mom, Janice Johnson, plant her own seeds and get into good trouble. So I want you to picture this. every time I say that, I always feel like Sophia from the Golden Girls. So picture it. It's 1983, and the United States Congress had just passed legislation designating Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a federal holiday. Okay, do you all remember that? But it wasn't until 1986 that the first nationwide observance took place. And at that time, I was about 9 years old or so, and in the 4th grade. And my mother started to keep me home from school because the school that I went to, the school district, did not observe the holiday. Sound familiar? Brown versus Board of Education? You know. Right. So the school where I went to did not observe the holiday. And so for about 4 years, every year, my mom would keep me home from school. And we would watch PBS specials and movies about important African American and Black figures in Black history, which is also American history. And I learned about people that I would have never learned about in school. And I especially remember we watched a series on PBS called Eyes on the Prize. Have you all, yeah, you've seen that? Great, right. This is a 14-part documentary series that shared various stories of many individuals and their experiences during the Civil Rights Movement. And year after year, the day after MLK Day, my mother would send a note to school explaining why she had kept me home and why I was absent, and to have my absence excused. For 4 years straight, my mom sent the note, and for 4 years, my absence was not excused. So not only did my mother plant seeds of change, she planted them for future generations. She modeled what hope and liberation looked like in the face of adversity. I was like a co-conspirator with my mother at that time. And even though I didn't fully grasp and fully understand the seeds that my mother was planting at the time, I started to have a better understanding that when you saw something that wasn't right, you had to say something and do something. So, meanwhile, between that time and 12th grade, let's fast forward, I got into a lot of good trouble. And by the time I had reached 12th grade, I had created so much good trouble. It was a time in 1993. I was at a predominantly white school close by, where The Color Purple book by American author Alice Walker was a hot topic. Can you guess why? Very similar to what's happening now. They were talking about banning the book. And they were talking about banning this book from the honors reading list. And at the same time that conversation was going on, I was reading Huckleberry Finn, Huck Finn, a classic, right, in English class. We had to read this book out loud in English class. And I'm not sure if you're aware or not. At the time, because it has since changed, but at the time, Huck Finn says the N-word fully and completely 219 times. We had to read this book out loud, and our teacher, she provided no context for the word. She did not encourage the use of the N-word versus the full-out word. And day after day, I heard the N-word fully and completely roll off the tongues of my teacher and my classmates as they read the book out loud. But yet no one No one was moved to question if that book was culturally responsive. So my 17-year-old self knew some people in the school wanted the Color Purple book banned, not only because of what they deemed to be controversial, but because of who and what the book's author represented. The intersectionality of queerness, Blackness, and Afrofuturism. I also knew that hearing the N-word repeatedly from my teacher and my classmates was not only wrong, but it was also a blatant act of racism. And just like John Lewis, I saw something that was not right, that was not just, that was not fair, so I had to do something. I had to get into good trouble, necessary trouble, and I initiated a protest with my mother by my side. So back then, we didn't have the convenience, as you know. There was no Facebook, there was no X, there was no Instagram, there was no Twitter. We had to get our message out the old-fashioned way. How do you think that was? Telephone, right? Yes. We had to use word of mouth, and we had to use the landline telephones. My mother had contacted the president of the NAACP. We contacted the news stations, and we called for our supporters to rally with their voices, to create signs, and to wear the color purple in a united front against the proposed ban of the book to the school board meeting. That night, there were at least 150 people present. I took to the microphone to speak out against the ban and to draw attention to the 219 times the N-word was said in Huckleberry Finn, suggesting that perhaps we should be having a very different conversation. The president of the NAACP, my classmates, and many others joined passionately, advocating for the preservation of the Color Purple book. And yet, on February 12th, you can look this up on the internet, because that's what I did. I couldn't remember the date, but it's there. February 12th, 1993, the board voted 5-4 to ban the Pulitzer Prize-winning book from the required reading list. And copies would, however, remain in the library. So even though the book was banned, something powerful happened that night. Seeds were planted. People got into good trouble. And I have no idea how those seeds blossomed. But I do know that they grew. Today, I wanted to take a little bit of time to share these stories with you, to emphasize the importance of storytelling in our lives and how one little tiny seed can make a difference. I share these stories with you today because I noticed that January has a bunch of events unfolding. And this January, is filled with the irony and the opportunity and complexity, mingled with a touch of anxiety and uncertainty. Amen. Today's January 5th. And as we approach January 6th, which is tomorrow, our nation marks 4 years since the insurrection, a moment that still resonates deeply with me, and I'm sure with many of you as well. And in my short time here, I have heard many here in this congregation express feelings of unease and anxiety about the upcoming inauguration on January 20th. And I'm also not sure if you know this, but coincidentally, it's also the day that Martin Luther King Jr. Day is. So I shared these stories with you today because I wanted to offer a glimpse of hope, the importance of seed planting. And this January, there's a lot to unpack. But this convergence of all of these events that are happening, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to pause. It's an opportunity for us to take just a moment and breathe. It's an opportunity for us individually and collectively to move forward with hope, peace, and love. It's an opportunity to recognize the complexity. And let us embark on this journey of complexity as we unpack what lies before us and cherish our UU values of faith, interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, equity, and it's all anchored around what? Love, amen. And as I offer a little seed for you to take with you today, it's a little affirmation set to song, and maybe some of you know this already. I would invite you to repeat after me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away.